Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to keep it short and simple. We're going to do some shoulder work, good hip mobility, and some baby rolls for the spine. So let's get started. All right, we're going to start in the standing position, getting into our crocodile breath. So making nice big C shapes with the hands. Hands are going below the rib cage, above the hip bone in that nice meaty section of the abdominal wall. And I want to squeeze the hands in lightly to create some resistance. And we're going to breathe like a crocodile or like you're trying to inflate a balloon. Nice inhale in through the nose. As you inhale, feel that expansion in that abdominal wall out and away. As we exhale, drawing navel into the spine. We'll get a good 5, 6 nice slow breaths. Each one, see if you can slowly expand that balloon a little bit wider. Slow down the inhale phase as well as the exhale phase. I like a nice 8-second count inhale to 8-second count exhale, or something close to that. On our 5th breath, we're going to grab our staff. Want to continue with that breath. But as we're doing so, we're going to get a shoulder width grip on the staff. And this is where I want to imagine we're trying to bend or break the staff. I want to feel that bend at the wrist as well as the elbow. Feel those elbow pits spiraling up to the ceiling. And then shoulder blades. Feel the shoulder blades downwardly rotating, packing towards your hip pockets. We'll start with that staff just right in front at the hips. We're still focusing on that nice crocodile breath. Inhale, inflate that balloon as big as you can. Exhale, navel to spine. And as you draw that navel into spine, feel your pelvis kind of scoop underneath. Inhale, as you fill up that belly, allow the pelvis to start to tilt forward so that we get a nice sway in the low back. Belly's kind of opening up. Again, expanding that balloon wide. Exhale, scoop as you draw the navel in. Notice how as we inhale with that tailbone sticking out, butt kind of sticks out as well. As we exhale, that scoop, tailbone scoops underneath. I want to see if we can feel those glutes lightly engage. On our next inhale, as we exhale, we're going to start to bring in our shoulders. So exhale, I want to feel that scoop. I want to feel that core engagement. Remember, we're bending or breaking that staff and bringing our elbows up towards our ears, squeezing them in. Inhale, fill up that belly, pelvis tilt, sway in the back. Exhale, scoop, pulling those elbows a little closer towards the ears. I want to go nice and slow, especially on the exhale. As I scoop, I don't want to throw my arms back quick. I kind of want to squeeze into that last end range. I'm trying to get as much range of motion as I can. Inhale, I let it soften, go forward. Exhale, nice, slow. Again, I'm trying to squeeze as much of that movement out as I can. Like I'm squeezing lemon. I want to get that last little drop of juice. Feel that tension in the shoulders. Notice if one shoulder feels a little tighter than the other shoulder. We're going to go ahead and move, drop, bring the arms down, move the staff to behind the body. Palms are facing backwards. We're still bending that staff, but we're bending it away from the body. So wrists are still bending it, elbow pits are still spiraling forward, and shoulder blades are still hacking down and back. That should open up the chest. I want to avoid being rounded shoulders forward. I want to feel those shoulders spiraled back. Nice tall spine. Inhale into that crocodile breath. Exhale as you draw the navel into the spine. We're lifting those elbows up slowly towards the ceiling. Inhale, you can let them soften as you fill up that crocodile. Exhale, navel to spine. Again, squeeze into that last bit of range of motion. With each one, we're seeing if we can lift the elbows just a little bit higher without forcing it. Continue to have that bend or break in the staff, especially as you're lifting. Continue to try to spiral those elbow pits forward. The more you do so, you should feel more opening up through the chest. We're then going to flip our palms so they're now facing forward, but we're still spiraling those elbows, still bending the staff away from the body. Everything else is the same. Filling up that crocodile breath. On the inhale, exhale, navel to spine, light scoop of the pelvis as we lift elbows up, squeeze into the end range. Inhale, let it soften. Again, try to continue to actively bend the staff away from your body as you lift the elbows up to the ceiling. And as you're lifting, again, notice the difference. How does this feel through the shoulders, especially the front of the shoulders? Does one arm, one shoulder feel tighter, more restricted? Is it a little pinchy, especially as you lift that staff up? We're going to bring the staff back down to our side. I want to keep it behind. We're going to flip our palms again so that the palms are facing backwards. Now, instead of trying to bend the staff, I want to actively reach the staff down to the floor, pulling the elbows like you're trying to touch them together. So I'm reaching down, drawing my elbows together. Again, nice open chest, tall spine. And we're going to do some neck mobility. So if you find that if you feel any vestibular dizziness, like if you move in your head in a standing position, makes you a little dizzy or lightheaded, bring a chair in and sit instead of doing this standing. So from here, again, actively reaching down, still lightly bending the staff. We're going to start with checking our blind spots. So nice inhale into that crocodile breath. Exhale as we slowly look over the right shoulder. Inhale as we come back to center. Exhale as we slowly look over the left shoulder. Again, I want to go slow and I want to squeeze very lightly into the end range without going into pain. I do not want this to be painful in the neck. I want that if it's slight discomfort, level 1, level 2. I don't want to go anywhere near that level 3 with the neck. And when I'm turning, I don't want to turn and tilt my head to where I'm reaching more with my forehead. I want to reach with my chin, and I want to see how far can I get my chin to come over this edge of the shoulder or even a little bit beyond. And I want to notice how much range do I have turning to the left compared to turning to the right? Is one side easier? Is one side more challenging? My left rotation is less mobile, a little bit more restrictive. It's not painful, but I get a little tension in that neck. So next we're going to get into our light tilt and lift. So very lightly tilting the head to bringing one ear closer to the shoulder. This is not a heavy tilt. I'm not trying to touch my shoulder. I'm just very lightly tilting, and then opposite ear, lift up towards the ceiling like you got a piece of string pulling it, or like you're trying to touch the ceiling with that ear. Continue to have those elbows pulling together, reaching the staff down. As you exhale, lift. Inhale, center. Exhale, tilt to the other side and lift. And as you're getting into this, we can, as you're lifting that ear, actively push the staff to the floor. Draw those elbows together, reach down as you're lifting, going side to side. Adding that reach through the staff should add a little more traction in the neck. And again, how does this feel left side compared to right side? My right side feels more mobile. My left side feels tighter, more restricted, a little harder to get into. Good. We'll come back to our starting point. Now we're going to get into our glide, side to side glide. For this one, I want to try to keep the cheekbones even and on the same plane. So I don't want the head to tilt to where one cheekbone goes higher. I also don't want to rotate the head to where we turn into where we're going. So I'm trying to keep the eyes straight forward. Again, actively reaching the staff down. Exhale as we glide to one side. Inhale as we come back to center. Exhale as we glide to the other. Now notice how much glide do you have to the right compared to the left. Now, generally, this movement is a lot easier to do if you do it in front of a mirror or a camera so you can see yourself. To see if you're tilting, turning, it can be hard to feel. It actually took me a good number of months to even be able to move my head to the right on this. I could go to the left and I could not do the right. I did not know how. So this one just might take a little bit of practice. Also notice, how does it feel moving to the left compared to the right? My right is a little easier. I feel like I got more glide. My left feels a little bit more restricted. All right, we're going to go ahead and set the staff down to the side, and we're going to come down to the floor. We're going to get into our V-sit position. So legs nice and wide, actively pulling the top of the feet to the shins, actively reaching the knees down into the ground. Feel the quads kind of tighten up. Hands are going to come down right behind the hips. We're going to spiral those elbow pits out and away so that we open up the chest, have a nice tall spine. For the V-sit, I want to try to be up on our sits bones as much as possible. That's where our hands can kind of help move us forward. If you find that you're a little bit back, that's okay, but we're going to work to slowly improve that pelvic mobility so that you can get on your sits bones. So from here, we're going to start with our spirals through the legs, focusing on those kneecaps. Exhale as we rotate the knees out and away like you're trying to touch your kneecaps to the floor on the outside of your legs. Inhale as we come to center, and then exhale as we spiral those knees in like we're trying to touch the inside of the floor. Nice and slow. Again, I want to keep that slow 8-second inhale, 8-second exhale, which means the movement is going to go that slow as well. As I exhale, I'm continuing to rotate into it. And again, I want to squeeze those last micrometers of movement with that breath. Inhale brings it to center. Exhale, nice slow squeeze into it. Then notice, how does that right hip feel compared to the left hip? Do you have more mobility with external rotation? Do you have more mobility with internal rotation? Is it different on the left side compared to the right side? I have a little bit more tightness in this left hip on internal rotation. I have some tightness in the right hip on internal rotation. Both hips feel pretty good with external. So my internal feels a little tighter on both sides right now. We're going to bring the hands now off the floor, and we're going to do a little bit of nice soft forward fold. On our exhale, I want to let just both those hands slide forward. Inhale as we bring it back. And this is where I want to really try to keep that spine nice and straight. I don't want to drop the head or the chest to the floor. I want to try to keep that tall spine, so I'm sliding hands forward. Again, if we're having trouble getting on our sits bones, this may be limited. You may not be able to go that far. I don't want to stress over how far you're able to go. I want to stress over just doing the movement, letting your body slowly reacquaint itself with these movements by doing them a little bit every day. Again, going slow and really squeezing that last little bit of range on that exhale. Notice, how does the right side feel compared to the left side? Are you feeling this in the back of the legs, the thighs? Are you feeling it more in your low back? Or are you feeling it more in your adductors, inner thighs? As we get into it, we can start to move a little bit off that center line. However, as I do, I want to keep my hands square with my shoulders. So my shoulders are turning and my hands stay square with the shoulders. As I move from side to side, ooh, it's a little tighter on my right side low back as I turn this way. That's why I want to keep those shoulders square, is because it gets me a little bit more rotation into that low back. And you might feel it more in that opposite side adductor or hip flexor area on the hip. I'm feeling it more in that right side low back, which is one of my kind of chronic areas for tension. We can slowly continue to get wider and wider as we move from foot to foot. Notice, how does that feel through the back line of the left leg compared to the back line of the right leg? I can do my right side so much easier, or left side, just rotating into it. Considerably more challenging. All right, now we're going to get into our shin box position. I'm in my left side shin box. Left hand is coming to the floor to ground. I want to shift weight over onto that left hip. I want that left knee to be flush with the floor. If that knee is popping up, that means the weight is really sitting into that back hip. I want to shift that weight so that the weight is more on your front hip and that back hip is free from the floor. I'm not trying to sit both sides of my hips on the floor. I want one hip to be free. From here, we're going to do some nice simple knee openers, breathing into that belly, that crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing navel up and in as we lift that knee slowly to the ceiling. Inhale as we let it back down. Again, I want to go slow, especially at the end range. I want to slow it down more in order to squeeze a little bit more range without pushing into pain, discomfort, or stress. Now, and also as I lift that knee, I want to avoid opening my chest. I don't want my shoulders to rotate back. I want to stay pretty fixed so that as I lift that knee, my upper body is not moving a whole lot. That way we can isolate that hip. I can really feel my hips are a little tight, especially to this outside point on the hip. Once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to slowly transition to the other side. Again, ground the palm, spiral the elbow pit out and away, pack that shoulder. Weight is shifted over so that back hip is free and the knee is flush to the floor. Inhale into that crocodile breath. Exhale as we nice, slow open up that knee. That's interesting is that I think I have a little bit more mobility today on my left hip with this movement than I did on my right, which is not normal. Usually my right hip is the more free hip. So my right hip has a little bit of tension in it that I was not aware of. Again, once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to slowly rotate back to the other side. Now, I'm going to go through that movement again because I noticed a significant difference on that right hip compared to the left hip. And oftentimes just doing it a second time will give you more mobility. So I'm going to do 3 to 5 reps on both sides again. Nice slow exhale. And already that is twice as much range of motion as I had just on that first set. So now, since I have a little bit more mobility, I want to express that mobility. I want to make sure that I am giving my neurology an experience of this. So 3 to 5 reps is going to be adequate. I'm going to come back to the other side. And same thing, a little bit more mobility in that left hip just from going back a second time. Again, I'm just going to keep it to 3 reps. Coming back to our starting side. So again, palm is grounded, weight is shifted so that knee is flush, back hip is free from the ground. Now we're going to get into that breath. So I'm changing my position so you can see this hip a little bit. My inhale breath, I want to imagine that inhale breath has weight and is moving very specifically into that back hip, like it's filling it up and dropping it to the floor. But I want to do so without shifting my weight. Again, I don't want that front knee popping up. I want to keep that weight forward as it fills that back hip. That back hip will move towards the floor, but I'm not trying to engage it to the floor. Now, as we exhale, that hip has to come up. So it's going to move up to the ceiling. I want to move forward as well. So I'm reaching my hip bone forward. But at this point, I also want to add a scoop. So if you think of your sacrum being right here in between your hips, if you think of your palm as your sacrum, your fingertips would be your tailbone. So I want to scoop and I want to reach the tailbone forward at this last bit of end range. So inhale, fills up that pelvis, feel it reaching to the floor. Exhale, it lifts up, moves forward, and then at that last bit, as you continue to exhale, scoop into it. And I want to feel that scoop. The more I scoop, I'm going to feel stretch through the front of the thigh. And we should also start to feel some tension, tightening, contracting of the glute. And that how much glute contraction we have will be dependent on how much extension you're able to get. If your hips are super tight and you're not able to get fully extended, you're not going to feel the glute as much. You may feel the stretch, and that's important. We want to move into that stretch. And the more we can mobilize the front to get further forward and add that scoop, the more we will get access to the glute. And this is a really important principle in the mechanics of that glute. If you cannot get hip extension, you cannot get glute contraction. Your glutes will fall asleep. And it's more an issue of mobility of the hip than anything that is the glute's fault. We'll go ahead and switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, grounded palm, spiraled elbow, packed shoulder. Weight is shifted so that front knee is down. Back hip is free to float off the floor. Inhale, weight of that breath moves into the bowl of that hip, reaching it to the floor. without shifting us. So I want to keep that weight forward, but that hip drops. Exhale, hip lifts, moves forward, and then actively scooping that last little bit. Inhale, feel it drop. Exhale, lift, move forward. And on the last little bit of that exhale, squeeze. Again, this is squeeze like you're trying to squeeze that last bit of lemon. I want to get that last little bit of that last drop of range of motion. Even if it's just the distance of the width of a hair, I want it. I want to reclaim it in both directions. Inhale, letting it drop. Exhale, lift and squeeze. Again, feel it moving into the stretch in the front of the hip so that we can start to feel that tightening, tensing, contracting in the glute. We'll come back to the other side. We're going to do the exact same movement, but now we're going to add our reach with rotation. So everything else for the first part is the same. Inhale into that back hip. Exhale, lift, moves forward, scoops. And then we're with our free hand, I want to spread the hands wide as possible, spiral the palm up to the ceiling, extend the elbow, and then rotate the shoulders to see how far can you get those fingers to extend. Inhale, we're unwinding. Palm can turn down to the floor as we bring that elbow in, breathing into that back hip bowl. Exhale, lift, reach forward, scoop, spread, spiral, extend, rotate. And this is why those nice, slow breaths really help, is they allow us to get into each part of these positions. The slower I go, I can lock in that hip. I want to make sure I feel that scoop, and I want to continue to actively scoop as I'm spreading my hands, spiraling my palm, extending the elbow, and rotating into it. And I want to really get that last bit of squeeze with rotation. How far can I get those fingers to move forward away from that back knee? We'll go ahead and switch to the other side. Grounded palm, spiraled elbow, packed shoulder, tall spine, weight is shifted. Inhale into that back bowl. Exhale, lift. Move forward, scoop, spread hands wide, spiral palm up to the ceiling, extend elbow, and then rotate into it. Oh, and the side's a little tighter. Can hear it taking away my breath and my voice. So inhale, fill up that back bowl. Exhale, scoop, spread, spiral, extend, rotate. And then squeeze. Again, that last little bit. Can I get a little bit further with each one without forcing it, without pushing into pain, discomfort, stress? A little bit of tight, juicy stretch is good. I do not want stressful pain, discomfort. And again, we're trying to squeeze that last tiny bit out of that. Oh, can I get it just a little bit further without forcing it? Come back to our starting side. Now we're going to get into some side body. So I'm going to bring that hand that was on the floor. I'm bringing it off the floor. Forearm is going to be kind of flush with the ceiling. We're still going to breathe into that back hip bowl. Exhale, it lifts up, moves forward, and scoops. You might find it's a little more limited in its range because that opposite hand is off the floor. That is okay. As we scoop, now we are actively lifting up that elbow like we're trying to touch the ceiling just with the tip of our elbow. Inhale, brings it all the way back into that back hip bowl. Exhale, lifts, moves forward, scoops. And then how high can you get that elbow to get up to the ceiling? As you lift that elbow, you can kind of downwardly press through that same side hip at the same time. We're already loaded into it, so it should be fairly easy to get that length hip through the elbow. Inhale brings us into the back hip. Exhale locks in that back hip. Finish with that nice reach. And then we'll swoop, come to the other side and do the same thing. So again, bringing that arm off the floor, forearm is flush with the ceiling. Inhale into that back hip bowl. Exhale, lift, reach forward, scoop, and then continue to exhale as we try to touch the ceiling with that elbow. Again, with each one, I'm trying to get that last bit of squeeze. First thing is I want to get as much of that hip, back hip scoop. Can I get that glute locked in a little bit? Then I'm last, couple seconds of that breath is lift and squeezing a little bit more out of it. As I lift with the elbow, we can also downwardly reach through that same side hip as long as the opposite hip is actively scooping and locked in. Good. We're going to come back to our starting point. Now we're going to get into our folds. I'm going to keep the folds square with the shin today. So I want shoulders square to shin, hands square to the shoulders. Nice inhale into that back hip bowl. Exhale, scoop. Again, I want to lift, reach forward and scoop. And then both hands are trying to reach evenly through that shin. Inhale brings us all the way back into that back hip bowl. Exhale, lift, scoop, and fold. And with each one, we're going to reach just a little bit further, trying to squeeze. As you reach, can you get a little bit further forward? One other thing that we can kind of work on with this is coming back to that tailbone are your fingers. As you're sliding your hands forward, imagine that you're also sliding those fingers back, trying to reach to the wall behind you. Can you feel that nice length reaching through the hips as you reach through the fingers at the same time? Inhale, bringing it all the way back up into that back bowl. Exhale, scoop actively, and then reach that tailbone behind as your hands slide forward. And we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, square to the shin bone, shoulders, hands square together. Nice inhale into that back hip bowl. Exhale, lifts up, moves forward, scoops so that we get that light stretch, locking it in. Continue to exhale as we slide those hands forward. Inhale brings it all the way back into that back hip bowl. As we're getting into it, when you're sliding those hands, reaching through the fingertips, slide that tailbone back like you're trying to reach to the wall behind you. Good. All right. So now we're going to get onto our back. And we're going to finish with some baby roll stretch. So legs are going straight. I want the toes pointed straight up to the ceiling. Feet are about hip width apart, hip to shoulder width apart. I don't want those feet rolling out and away. I want to keep them perfectly up to the ceiling. And we're going to put about 5 pounds of downward pressure through the heels. As you press the heels into the floor, you should notice some tension in the hips and the glutes. Arms are coming up overhead into a nice, comfortable Y position. If you find that your shoulders are stiff and don't rest to the floor, let them come out wider to where they rest easily. And we're going to take some nice crocodile breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. And we're going to get into our baby roll stretch. If you have low back pain, go cautious, go slow. I don't want to expose a back issue. So move slowly until you feel confident in this movement. Nice inhale in through the nose. And now as we exhale, we're going to turn our eyes to one hand. We're going to lift that head a little bit off the floor, and we're going to reach with our eyeballs as our opposite hand reaches across to match hands. As with this reaches, it should lightly lift the hips off the floor, but I don't want the hips to completely turn to where our feet turn. Those feet need to stay straight up to the ceiling, which should anchor that back hip a little bit. So it's not going to rise that high. Inhale brings us all the way to the floor. Exhale, look to the other hand, lightly lift your head, and then reach across to match hands. That side is tighter. We're going to go side to side. Notice if one side feels easier than the other side. Is one side tighter, more restricted, more challenging to get into? Oh, I can definitely feel that side. Feeling that right side low back where I was feeling in the shin box work as well. Keep that downward pressure in the heels. Don't let the toes rotate to one side. If you're noticing that they do, notice if it happens more when you reach to the left side or the right side. If it's happening more in one direction, then that gives us some indication of where we have some greater tension patterns in the body. We're going to come back to our starting point. Now we're going to reach through the legs, lifting one leg up high. I want to keep that leg high to start with. Extend the toes out like you're reaching to grow your toenails as far as you can. Let it pull the hip up off the ground. It's going to lift the shoulder blade off the ground, but try to keep some contact with the back of the hand. Inhale brings it down. Exhale, opposite side. Point the toes. Reach with those toes, keeping that foot elevated high to start with. Let it pull the hip off the floor. Let it slowly pull the shoulder blade off the floor, but keep the hand in contact with the ground. And we're going back and forth. As you reach, getting those toes reaching as far as you can counter reach through the fingers, extending them out and away, trying to create that traction throughout the body from fingertip to toe tip without pain. Notice, how does this feel on the right leg compared to the left leg? Is one side tighter, more restricted? Make sure that we are not moving into painful positions. And once we even it out, both sides, we're going to come back to neutral, bring our feet up flat to the floor. And we're going to make our big C shapes with our hands, coming back to our crocodile breath. Hands going below the ribs, above the hip bone, thumbs in the back. Let the shoulders remain as soft as they can to the floor. Nice inhale into that crocodile breath, like you're blowing and inflating a balloon. Exhale, feel the navel draw all the way to the floor. Full expression of that exhale. Let the hands squeeze in a little bit as well so that you can feel that next inhale, have something to push into. And we'll get a good 8 to 10 nice, slow crocodile breaths. And with each one, we're trying to inflate that balloon just a little bit wider. As you get to your 8th breath, let your hands soften down to the floor, palms up. Let the shoulders relax. We're going to continue with that same breath, inflating through the abdominal wall. But we're also going to let that breath start to move up into the ribs a little bit more. Breathing into the chest, side of the ribs, upper back. Exhale. If you notice any tension, allow that tension to melt. We can breathe in, filling up to tension, and then on the exhale, let that tension rinse off to the floor. You can take a few minutes or a few moments to kind of continue to check in with the body, continuing to melt, allowing that any of that extra tension to release. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, very slowly get up. Take your time to make sure that you're not dizzy or lightheaded before you come to a standing position.